do all that they can to distort and manipulate and confuse us human beings and distract us from our powers. Okay. So, this podcast episode is specifically for my women that are thinking about being mothers, that are just interested in being here and listening to this birth story of mine. For those that already are mothers, this is for my women because we got to stick together. I feel like there's a lot of separation with us women. So let's get into my birth story, okay? So, long time ago, kidding. So, about 4 years ago, I found out I was pregnant, and I was actually very happy. I was happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, because I always wanted a baby. I actually, at one point growing up, wanted 8 children, and I had all my names picked out for them. It was going to be some very horrible names: Sylvester, Sullivan, Sebastian, Star, Chicago, and then some other names I can't remember. I think I even wanted to name one of my kids Yellow. So definitely did not know much about really what having children was really all about at that point. But I knew that I wanted them. Not every woman is going to have that feeling because, we're all different. We all had different purposes here. But for me, and I know a lot of other women can relate, you just have that inkling in you, that feeling like, I want to be a mom one day. So that's supernatural. That's natural for us to want to be a mothers. So I was happy about her birth, not her birth, her conceivement. I didn't know she was a girl yet, but we're not going to get into like my whole during my pregnancy. I'm going to keep it really short with the whole 9 months of pregnancy, but I took only medication that I took during my pregnancy was for nausea in the first trimester because it was really bad. I had it really bad. And if I were to ever have nausea in the future, I would not take medication because anything that you take medication, what you eat, what you smoke, what you drink, if you're doing that stuff while you're pregnant, which is highly advised not to do, but there's still women that do. And no judgment. I mean, really, there's just no judgment here. My point is that everything that you do goes directly to the baby because they are directly linked to you. Like what you eat goes to them. What you breathe probably affects them. I don't know too much about this. Okay, now I might be getting a little too into it. So anyways, the medication that I was taking was for nausea, and I know that was, directly affecting her as well, even though they say it's safe to take during pregnancy. So in reality, intuitively, I know at this point in my motherhood journey, 3 kids later, that unless you're absolutely going to die without taking this medication, I highly advise not taking medication during your pregnancy unless you absolutely need to and there's no other way around it, okay? But for me, I just kind of wanted an easy way out of the nausea. So I'm like, okay, let me just take this medication, which it didn't really take the nausea away. It just kind of took the edge off of it. So fast forward, I'm about to be having her soon, and I really didn't do much preparing for it. I will say the last few weeks of my pregnancy, I was big. It felt like I had a bowling ball. I mean, we're all big, right? When we're at the end of our pregnancy, for me, it felt like I had a bowling ball in my stomach, and I was spending most of my time bouncing on a yoga ball. I think I had watched a few videos about some exercises you can do on a yoga ball to prepare for birth, and I might have watched like a breathing video, but not really paying too much attention to it. And it's crazy, how I just kind of like didn't even really think too into it. I was just like, yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm going through the flow of things. Um, and when it came time to give birth, because I did not prepare, because I didn't have a support system that knew what they were doing, as far as making sure me and baby are at our optimal best throughout the whole process. And just support system as in like, the significant other that you had the baby with, or a close friend, or even like a mother or a father there at your birth. Yeah, I had people there at my birth, but I would not say they were a support very much, or at all. Sorry if you're listening to this and you were there. Um, this is just the truth. Like, I won't get into details about the situation with that, but I want to get into what happened at my birth. So I'm 40 weeks in like 2 days, I believe, when I go into my OB-GYN appointment. And she starts mentioning to me that apparently, she says, the liquid is a little bit low in my stomach. You know how the baby, there's like a liquid in there that they're kind of like swimming in. She's saying that it's leaked a bit and that it's low. It's kind of low. Just kind of like instilling fear right off the bat. And I wasn't having any like symptoms of labor, such as like my water breaking or contractions or anything like that when I was there seeing her. And so she's kind of just like explaining to me, they explain all these medical things to you. You have no idea what they're talking about, saying that 36.5% of your liquid and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, my first baby, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I'm just listening to her. And then she mentions that, oh, well, since you're here, and your liquid's low, like, let's go, let's get you to the birthing center and let's get an induction started. So for those of you that don't know what an induction is, it's literally when they force a woman's body into labor. It's not helping her body into labor, because us women don't need help getting into labor, unless, of course, you have medical issues or whatever your case may be. But as a healthy, young woman, middle-aged woman, a little bit older women, maybe like more older than middle age, if you are healthy and you know what you just trust you trust your body, that you are going to be able to birth your baby, you don't need an induction. Your baby is the one that decides when he or she is ready to come into this world. Not a doctor, okay? Not a doctor. So I did not know that at this point. So I had no idea, at this point, when I went to the birthing center, I listened to her. I went to the birthing center having no idea. All I knew was that I was going to be having my baby. That's all I knew. I was about to be having my baby. So I go there, they put an IV in you. They strap up this thing over your belly. It's uncomfortable, may I add. and it's like monitoring the heartbeat of the baby, and your heartbeat's getting monitored, and this and this and that. Who knows if they were even already injecting something into my IV that they had on me? I don't even know, because they just do all this stuff to you, okay? And if you don't ask questions, if you don't know what they're doing, they're going to just do what they do. They're going to do protocol, okay? And another thing too, the doctor, most of these doctors are going to try and make a big buck off of you, because it is a business. The hospital is it's a medical business. They save lives, but they also make hell of money, okay? And there's ways for them to make hell of money when women go there to give birth, because they do stuff like what they were doing to me, okay? Because I did not educate myself beforehand. So now they start monitoring my stomach, and they tell me that I'm contracting, which I didn't even know. So when I think about it now, my daughter was getting ready to come on her own timing. So I was in very, very, very early labor stages. Didn't even feel the contractions, but my body was preparing. So I could have been at home, relaxing, doing my thing, watching Grey's Anatomy, which I had been doing before I went to the doctor that day. I could have been on my yoga ball, laying down, whatever I wanted to do at home in my comfortable place, until I actually was ready to be physically pushing and getting a baby ready to come out, okay? Instead, I'm in the super early stages of labor. I didn't know that at that point. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm thinking in my head, like, wow, like, I'm lucky. Like, they actually caught me when I was already in labor, so I didn't have to go all the way back home and come back here. That's what I was thinking in my head. So I'm there for like, I don't know, probably like 2 hours, 3 hours pass. And then they come and check, and they see, they're like, actually, I don't even think I was there for 3 hours. I'm trying to think back to, I can't tell you times, because I don't remember hours, how many hours passed. I don't even know how many hours I was doing certain things, right? But I do remember the order in which the procedures happened. So the first thing they did was they inserted this thing called Cervidil. And it's an FDA approved vaginal insert, and its purpose is to get your cervix to soften, thin, and dilate. So I get this thing put up my vagina, and it's supposed to like melt in there or something. And like I just said, they're pretty much using that to force my cervix. And it's not like it was painful or anything. It didn't really feel like anything, but they are forcing my cervix to open, thin, soften, dilate unnaturally, because that my cervix will do that on its own, okay? So this is like a procedure that they do for women that are being induced, okay? The thing is, we do not need this. Believe me, like, you do not need that. It's upsetting for me. It's like, because I didn't need that. When my body was ready to start dilating and opening, it would have done it on its own. Okay, so I don't know, some time passes, and they come back and they check on me to see how my cervix is dilating. She notices that it's not really doing much. The Cervidil isn't doing much. So she decides that she wants to do a membrane sweep, okay? And let me tell you, I'm not being asked if they can do these things to me, okay? They're just saying, we're gonna do this. So every single thing that they do, every single medicine they give you, every single procedure they do on you, it's money. Like, the doctor is making money off of giving me Cervidil, off of doing a membrane sweep. So a membrane sweep is doctor puts their fingers in your vagina and they swipe the membranes, which results in your water being broken, your bag of waters being broken. So that ended up happening to me. She broke my bag of water forcefully. And like I keep saying, that would have happened in due time as well, on its own. So do you see so far, as I'm telling the story, how they are forcing my body, and not only me, they are forcing my unborn child to get ready to be born when she was not ready, when it wasn't her time, but they were kind of like evicting her out of there. Like, come on, you only have this amount of time. Like, all right, we're gonna do this. Let's see if this will get you coming out. So they're really poking and probing at my unborn child, forcing them to evict out of my stomach. So after that, I started having what they call contractions. And this time, I was actually feeling them. I was feeling them. And at first I was doing okay, like before she came and broke my water, like I was feeling fine. I was walking around, I was like talking to my people that were there with me. And once she did that, the contraction started. And the doctor comes again. She's looking over everything. She's realizing that the contractions that I'm having aren't strong enough. They're not strong enough, but really what it is that I'm not contracting fast enough to get the baby coming out, because the doctor, she wants to go on about her day. She wants to make that $25,000, $30,000, and go on to make another $30,000 that day. She don't want to be in a birthing room with me for a 24-hour period. These hospitals treat women like cows, just kind of like pumping them in and out of the hospital, making tons of money off of them. Okay, this is the kind of I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about United States of America, which, may I add, is a corporation. United States of America is actually a corporation. It's a country, but it's also a corporation. So we're all part of it. That's why we all get a social security number. That's another topic for another podcast. And I really don't know much about that. I couldn't tell you too much about that. I just know you can go and look up, is United States of America a corporation? Yes, it is. So everything in here, all the systems, the school systems, the medical systems, are all about capital gain, about money. Okay. So since I wasn't contracting to her liking, they began to give me Pitocin, which is it's artificial oxytocin, which I heard that Pitocin is horse semen. I don't know and they give it to you through the IV. I don't know for sure, but this is what I've heard about it. But Pitocin is artificial oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone, and that's the hormone that is a natural way for a woman to give birth. That's why some women, like, they have sex with their husbands and they end up going into labor, because oxytocin. So if you have that love hormone happening, that'll get you going into labor. That's why, also some women do like nipple stimulation to get their contractions going and stuff like that, because it promotes the hormone oxytocin. So they're giving me this fake ass oxytocin injected into my bloodstream, and everything that they're doing to me is going straight to baby. And so you see At this point, I am contracting so hard at this point because, and look at this story. This is not how birth is meant to be. This is not, see, this has been normalized. My birth story is probably, a lot of women out there could probably relate to my birth story. And that's sad because this is not what birth is meant to be like. This is what I mean by they're taking away something beautiful and powerful and distorting it and making it into something that it's not. Because that, a medical procedure, is not what giving birth is. So I'm going to try to get this under 30 minutes because this is kind of on podcast. But at this point, the contractions, because it's fake oxytocin, it gives you an even harsher contraction, like way 10 times harsher than a natural contraction would be. So if any women out there experience getting Pitocin in their IV, they most likely ended up opting for an epidural, which one thing I did know before going into labor with my first is that, well, I didn't really go into labor, I was induced, but I did want one thing, and that was not to get an epidural. That was one thing I didn't want to do because I was scared of that big old needle. But when I started getting those fake hard contractions, I was like, you know what? It got to the point where, because I couldn't even describe it, and I gave birth, natural birth, 2 times after this experience, and let me tell you, natural contractions are no way near like the Pitocin contractions. So I asked for an epidural. So there goes another big bang buck on the doctor's bill, on a doctor's paycheck, should I say, not a bill, my bill. And I get the epidural, and the baby's head is there, but not coming out yet. So when you are numb, because that's what the epidural does, numbs you from the waist down. When you are numb from the waist down, you can't really feel when you're supposed to push. You can't really feel the baby coming out. That's why women get it, right? To just not feel that. And that's another way that the evil forces in this reality have attacked humanity, brainwashing women to thinking that getting an epidural is empowering or easy. I'm not saying it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me. I would have rather not. Now that I've had 2 other children completely drug-free, let me tell you from experience, epidural really is actually a very attack on women's power during birth. And I'm sure there's times where it's needed, like for a C-section, right? Which is what ended up happening to me. Because I couldn't get her out. Because I couldn't feel anything. So once again, doctor starts saying some stuff that I didn't really understand, saying something like the baby's blood pressure or heartbeat or something like that is going up, or blah, blah, blah. You might want to consider doing a C-section. So I just eventually was like, yeah, let's just do it. I just felt at that point, instead of my birthing experience, my first birthing experience being empowering, being something beautiful, I felt defeated by the hospital. At that point, when I opted to get a C section, they had stripped me of my power and my belief in myself, which is the hospital's goal. Okay. And I'm not just saying hospitals are bad. I shouldn't say the hospital's goal. The evil force's goal is that. Okay. They want women to think that they don't have any power over their own bodies when it comes to giving birth. There's mammals all over the planet that do not get rushed to the hospital to give birth. They just naturally know what to do and they do it. And there's cases where even dogs might have to get C-sections and stuff like that. But you have to understand a C-section is a surgery. And we all know that surgery is supposed to be for actual emergencies. Giving birth is not an emergency. So why are we so programmed to think that we have to be rushed to the hospital when we're having a baby? Why do you think there's so many stories about women that, oh, so and so gave birth in a car, so and so gave birth on their way, home on a bus ride? Because when the baby's coming, the baby's coming. It's not going to wait for no damn hospital. That's not how nature works. We are nature. Humans are part of nature. We're part of the grand creation. So this podcast episode, I'm going to end it here. Catch me on episode 3, where I make part 2 of this, about the after part, the after the surgery part, okay? And how that affected me and my baby having our birth experience distorted like that, thanks to the medical system and the agenda that the medical system has. Okay, so catch me in episode 3. I hope I see you guys there, and I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of my first birth story. Peace, love, and harmony.